Hi, welcome back to Westbury 101. I'm Brian Westbury, Chief Economist at First Trust Portfolios. Remember, we want to be the antidote to conventional wisdom. Well, get ready. We're going to gain about 300,000 new jobs in the month of March. Remember, that'll be reported in early April. And my belief, our belief, is that this is the first month of many above average job gains as we move into 2010. We expect the unemployment rate to come down to 8.5% to 9% by the end of the year. And we believe this month of March will be the first month when we look back where all systems will appear to be go in the employment marketplace. Now, I want to talk a bunch about this employment report over the next few minutes, but the first thing to remember is we lost 36,000 jobs in the month of February. That probably would have been a gain of about 100,000 if it weren't for that nasty weather we had in February. Remember that one day when it snowed in 49 out of 50 states. The only state it didn't snow in was Hawaii. That cost us jobs in construction and manufacturing. It especially cost us hours worked when the work week shrinks because people just had to take a day or two off or maybe even a week off because projects and job sites were shut down. Now, that will come back in the month of March. Plus, I believe we're now at a place where we're going to add 150 to 200,000 jobs a month just from economic growth, and we'll come back to that in just a second. And on top of that, we have census hiring. It's that time of the decade. And when you put all of that together, I think a 300,000 job gain, maybe even a 400,000 job gain are on tap for the month of March. Now, some people will say, oh, well, if that's just a bounce from the weather and it's census, then it's not really job growth. So let's dig in to the jobs numbers a little bit and think about where we are. The first one to look at is the payroll survey. Here's a bar chart of monthly changes. And as you can see, it is a V-shaped recovery. Not that we're gaining jobs on a consistent basis. In fact, we've only had 1 month of job gains. That was last November. You can see that little red circle. But we were losing 600,000 or 700,000 jobs in the middle of the panic in late 08 or early 09. And now we are basically at a place where we're flat, and we believe in March that we're going to see a strong upward number, and that will continue for the rest of the year. Now, I want to contrast this to the civilian or the household survey. Now, remember, in the establishment survey, the payroll survey, the one we just looked at, we survey about 400,000, roughly, establishments. They're government, public, not-for-profit, and for-profit companies and institutions. And we ask how many people are on your payroll. Now, remember, we have to set this survey. You know, the 400,000 companies that are in the survey in January of 2009, they stay in the survey for at least a year. We don't capture small business very well in this survey because it would mean we would have to go out and rejigger the survey, and that's statistically very difficult to do. So we have another survey that we use. It's called the household survey. And that's where we actually knock on people's doors. And if we knock on your door and we ask if you're working, we don't care whether you're working for the government, for a not-for-profit, for a for-profit company. It doesn't really matter. For a small company, mid-sized company, large company, we're going to capture the self-employed and small businesses. And typically, this household survey is better at capturing turning points in the economy because as new small businesses start, the establishment survey will often miss them, but the household survey won't. So let's look at this chart. And if you see here, it's the same V-shaped recovery. We were losing close to 1 million jobs a month back in the middle of the panic. And now we have rebounded. And the last 2 months are very strong gains. Now, these numbers are population controlled and adjusted. And if you look at this, in the last 2 months, we've added 1 million jobs according to the household survey. Typically, this survey is a leading indicator of employment relative to the payroll survey. So we expect that the economy will improve dramatically from here. The unemployment rate will come down, and we will be in a self-sustaining cycle. Now, just a couple of quick comments about where all this job growth is coming from. Many people are saying, hey, how can we have job growth? Everything stinks. But it doesn't stink. Consumer spending in January was above any month we've ever seen in the history of the United States. In other words, we collapsed in the late part of 2008 and into 2009. Then we began to recover, and we are now seeing consumption above its peak back in the middle of '08. We need jobs to meet that demand. Even if productivity is increasing, we're now to the point where we have to increase temporary help, hours worked, and finally full employment to meet the demand. This is not, I'm going to repeat, not coming from the stimulus spending of the federal government. Remember, every dollar the federal government spends must come from somewhere else. So we're taking it from a taxpayer, we're borrowing it from someone over here so that we can spend it somewhere else. That's like taking a bucket of water out of one end of the pool, putting it in the other end of the pool. It does not change the level of the water. It only changes where the economic activity is taking place. What is driving the economy upward today is really two things. Number one, the Federal Reserve has been very accommodative. Number two, the panic is over, and the assertiveness of the entrepreneur, innovation, and creativity, the real driving forces of wealth, are beginning to, as I said, reassert themselves and push the economy upward. That's what's creating growth today. It's a natural thing. The United States has been doing it for 230 plus years. We are not in Great Depression 2, and we're about to see the big change in the job market everyone has been waiting for. Believe it, because it's here. Thanks for coming to Westbury 101. Remember, we want to be the antidote to conventional wisdom. See you next time.